Change lives.
cambiar vidas,
Change lives.
change organizations,
حياته.
改变世
Change
界
organization.
दुनिया में बदलाव
Transformar el mundo.
Change the world.
I want to introduce you to my son, Geronimo. We got this picture taken a couple of weeks ago. He's 22 weeks old and measures 22 centimeters. As you can see, there, you can already identify his cute little hands perfectly. You can also see that he's got his mother's beautiful lips and that he's got his grandfather's big ears. This boy has got me thinking about a lot of stuff in life. He's got me thinking about my values, about what kind of life I want to live, and what kind of life I want for him. Also, what kind of world I want him to live in. And in trying to answer that question, I've realized that recycling is a simple yet powerful habit that can help make this world a much nicer place for him and for his generation. Today I want to share with you my story with recycling, my love story with recycling, which coincidentally shares a lot of parallels with my love story with my wife, Sofia. I met Sofia 9 years ago. We connected through a mutual friend. I liked her from the first moment I saw her. I liked her eyes. I loved her smile. I loved the way she talked to me. There was a lot of physical attraction. But there was also something else, some indiscernible internal force that drew me to her. At that moment, I didn't know what that force was. Something similar happened to me with recycling. I'm serious. In fact, it was through the same friend that I connected with recycling. He invited me to join him on a recycling startup. At first, I was a passive investor. We did the numbers, and they looked pretty attractive. So it was this economic, material attraction that drove me to recycling. But there was also something else to recycling, something else that had to do with the idea of being a green entrepreneur, of contributing to the world, that attracted me to recycling. So both with my wife and with recycling, there was something external, something material, but there was something internal, something I could not discern. After asking Sofia out a couple of times, she finally accepted to date me, and we started forging our relationship. It wasn't easy. It had our ups and downs, but it felt really good. 5 years into the relationship, I started to feel insecure that I wanted to commit further. So we broke up, and I started dating other people. It was a lot of fun. But on Sundays, when I found myself alone, I felt a void, an emptiness within me. Here again, something similar happened with recycling. 18 months into the venture, the company was completely broke. We had negative equity. I had to leave my job and go manage the company, and with a lot of hard effort, we managed to turn it around. We had our ups and downs, but it felt really good. 5 years managing the company, I became dazzled with this cool, clean energy technologies, solar, wind, etc., and I distanced myself from recycling again. My insecurities led me to distance myself from recycling. But every time when I tried to do the acid test of whether these technologies would be viable in an emerging market context in a poor country like Colombia, where I'm from, the answer was no. They required subsidies. And I felt this similar void, this restlessness that I felt on Sundays when I found myself without Sofia. After confronting my insecurities, I realized that both recycling and Sofia were real. They were my present, and they made me feel good. So I married recycling, and I married Sofia. And it has been a process of discovery after I married both of them. Recently I realized that Sofia is an incredibly generous person, the kind of person that will gladly give you the last bite of her most delicious pasta plate, and will do it with a smile on her face, whereas me, I get angry when somebody takes that bite away from me. With recycling, I discovered that it has silently changed the world, and it can change it again and again. Over the last 20 years, the United States has doubled its recycling rate. It has been the consequence of greater environmental awareness and also a consequence of higher commodity prices, which have allowed recycled commodities to become cost competitive against their non-recycled counterparts. This huge progress has had unimaginable positive consequences. The emissions avoided through recycling are equivalent to taking 33 million cars off the street for 1 year. Imagine that. Recycling is playing a significant role in the fight against climate change. Recycling is also a big saver of energy. The net energy saved every year through recycling is equivalent to 1 month's worth of oil imports into the US. So recycling is helping the United States become a more energy independent country. An EPA report estimates that the recycling and reuse industries generate 1.4 million jobs. So recycling is as an important driver of economic prosperity. So recycling has all these great benefits. We have made a lot of progress. The question that pops up next is, can we do better? Can we improve? What's the big picture? If we look at the recycling rate in developing countries, it hovers around 10 to 20%, so around less the United States. And it is in these countries where most of the world's population is and where most of the world's population growth will happen over the next decades. It is also in these countries where most of the growth in consumption and hence in trash will happen. If we go to Switzerland, for example, we find a recycling rate of 52%. So that's 20 percentage points above the US. But we don't need to go that far. We don't need to travel all the way to Europe. Just by looking here in our own backyard in San Francisco, we find a recycling rate of 77%. 77. So imagine all the emissions that could be avoided, all the oil imports that could be spared, and all the new green jobs that could be generated if through recycling we increase the recycling rate in those developing countries to US levels, or why not San Francisco levels. So what can we do? What can we do to advance in this path of increasing recycling rates? First, if you don't recycle, well, start doing so. It's very easy. You just need to buy an additional trash bin, which will cost you $10, and just start by throwing in one bin the perishable goods and in the other bin the rest. This simplified dual-stream recycling system is pretty similar to the way San Francisco started a couple of years ago, and it will get the task done. If you already recycle, then I want to invite you, I want to urge you to talk about it, to become an evangelizer of the recycling cause. And I want to suggest 3 settings where you can do this effectively. The first one, friends and family. When you're invited to a dinner, check out if they're recycling. If they're not, persuade them. Tell them how it's done and that it will only cost them $10. Second setting, your children's school. Most American schools teach recycling very, very briefly, and most American school textbooks do not cover recycling. So talk to your children's teachers. Find out if they're teaching recycling. If they're not, collaborate with them so that they can include it in the curriculum and help them getting the right academic materials to teach it. The third setting where you can talk about recycling very effectively is your workplace. Check out if your company already has a recycling program in place. If it doesn't, you can call my company, or you can start by promoting one. Second, when selecting vendors, prefer those that have recycling programs in place and that use recycled raw materials. And when talking to your customers, suggest that they use recycled raw materials. Not only do they have a great benefit for the environment, but they're also generally cheaper than non-recycled raw materials. So by using recyclables, you can not only help the world, but save money. So I want to invite you to recycle, to become an evangelizer of recycle. I want to invite you to do this for this guy, And if you don't want to do it for this guy, then do it for all these other guys, which all of you love and most of you are likely to have. Recycling does not require additional subsidies, taxes. It doesn't require a drastic effort from you. It's just a small change of mindset. It's just a simple habit that can change the world over and over again. Thank you.